Alright guys, so let's go ahead and go over this warm-up. Hopefully you did it already. This is using long division that we learned yesterday. So we're going to do x cubed minus 11x squared plus 35x minus 25 divided by x minus 5. Alright, and we start with the leading terms. So to go from x to x cubed, you're going to do x squared. Multiply that to both terms, so that'll be x cubed, that'll be minus 5x squared, and then we subtract. So this is all just review from yesterday. So negative 11x squared minus negative 5x squared is going to be negative 6x squared. And then we bring everything else down. Okay, we then look at the leading terms again, and we know to go from x to negative 6x squared, we need negative 6x. Multiply it out. That would be plus 30x. Then we subtract everything. So that's the x squared term cancels out. 35 minus 30, it'll be 5x. Bring down the 25 and finish it up. Once again, x to become 5x, we need to multiply by 5, multiply it out, and we get remainder of 0, which is what we should have gotten because they told us it was a factor, okay? And then the last thing is they want us to factor this completely. So we know x minus 5 is a factor. And then to factor x squared minus 6x plus 5, we use product sum. And we get x minus 5, x minus 1. And this right here is your answer, okay? So now, if x minus 5 was a factor of x, f of x, you can conclude that 5 is a root or 0 of f of x. Okay, so that's just going back to just what the definition of a factor is and what the definition of a root is. Okay, so now we're going to use a new method, and a lot of times it is easier. It all depends on how well you understand it. And it is called synthetic division. Okay? We've done synthetic substitution before. The process is very similar, but what our answer tells us is something a little different. So in order to use synthetic division, your polynomial must be in standard form. So got to have it multiplied out completely with missing terms filled in. So that is where we, substitute in a 0 if there's a missing term. And you must use the root value or the 0 value instead of the factor. So like how we said for this one, x minus 5, we wouldn't use x minus 5, we would use 5. So same problem, but now we're going to do it with synthetic. So with synthetic, the setup, just like we saw with synthetic substitution, it's very similar. We write the coefficients. So 1, negative 11, 35, and negative 25. And I do not need to put in any extra zeros because there are no missing terms. We go x cubed, x squared, x, and then the constant term. Then with this one, we write the 0 as opposed to the factor. All right, so now comes the actual process. You start by bringing down the first term. So you bring down the 1, and you do the multiplication. 5 times 1 is 5. Then you add. Negative 11 plus 5 is negative 6. You multiply, so 5 times negative 6 is negative 30. You add, to get 5. You multiply, you get 25, and then you add again, and you get your final addition, and you get 0. So before, when we were doing synthetic substitution, that would be your answer. Well, now this is your remainder. Okay, that's your remainder, which is what we wanted. We wanted a remainder of 0 because it's a factor. And then the way I like to do it is I like to go right to left. So this first term, or this first number, is the constant. And remember, constant just means no x value. Okay? Then it goes, the next one will be your x, and then x squared. And if you had more numbers, you would just keep increasing the power of x until you got to the end. So if we write what we have 1x squared minus 6x plus 5. Okay? And hey, that's the exact same thing we ended up when we did long division. You could see this took a lot more room than this did. Okay? And some of you might find this much quicker and easier. So we'd still finish the problem though. We have to factor it completely. So we write that factor, then we write the 2 factors that come from here, x minus 5 and x minus 1. One thing I didn't mention up above was because we have 2 factors that are the same, you could write it as x minus 5 squared times x minus 1. Okay? The next problem, you guys will do the rest of these on your own or with partners. And what these are telling you is this is your function, this is what you're dividing by. So I'll show you the setup for this one. You'll have -2 on the outside, and then the coefficients on the inside. And you will go ahead and do synthetic division. You find your answer just like we did before. You'll factor it, but now it's asking for the remaining zeros. So instead of writing them as factors, where you have like x minus 5 like we did before, now you would actually solve it and say, oh, if you had x minus 5, x would equal 5. Okay? So, like I said, I want you guys to do the rest of these pages, finish up these notes, and check your answers with each other and on Canvas on the answer sheet. Okay? And if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I will be able to look at them. Or you could stop in and see me, tomorrow or day after. But this process is called synthetic division. We had done synthetic substitution before, so hopefully the process itself won't be too bad for you. Awesome. Be good.